This is a spider, and for any insect, the most terrifying thing to ever exist. They sit like 8-legged statues in the dark corners of every garden, every forest, every home on Earth, waiting just for the right time to snatch you and kill you. Now, to be clear, these creatures have nowhere near the highest numbers in the world. That title belongs to ants. But there is a massive difference between the most numerous and being the most feared. Even wasps and hornets, considered some of the deadliest in the entire insect kingdom, will not approach an orb weaver spider. They're simply too outclassed, not just by their venom, but by engineering, by patience, by a hunting system so deadly that animals 10 times their size will still be prey to the spider. When spiders move into a new environment, feeding patterns of all other insects shift immediately. They become hyper-vigilant, spend more time hiding, and have even been found starved to death because of it being too dangerous to move. No one wants to be seen. What makes these creatures so terrifying that their mere presence can cause an entire ecosystem of insects to stop eating? How does an animal with a brain the size of a poppy seed manage to out-engineer and outmaneuver the most successful group of animals on Earth? And why does it seem like no matter how fast you fly or how big you are, there's some spider out there that will always be able to find a way to trap and kill you? To understand why spiders seem so overpowered, let's first take a look at what spiders even are. And actually, they're not even insects, they're arachnids. We always talk about their 8 eyes, but they actually barely even use eyesight. A spider sees the world through a sense that humans just don't have. Basically, and literally, it's spidey sense. If you look closely at a spider's legs, you'll see thousands of tiny, specialized hairs called trichobothria. And this isn't to make spiders creepy. These hairs are so sensitive that they can detect the displacement of air molecules caused by the wing beat of a gnat several feet away. Spidey sense is real. When a spider sits on its web, or even just on a leaf, it isn't waiting for a visual cue. It is monitoring the vibrations of the universe around it. They have organs called silt sensia that can detect mechanical strain on their exoskeleton. They can feel the weight of a dewdrop, the direction of the wind, and most importantly, the exact frequency of an insect. They can distinguish between the vibration of a leaf blowing in the wind and the frantic, high-frequency tapping of a fly's leg. These webs are like the literal extensions of their own nervous systems. It turns the web into one giant ear. You can hide from something that needs to see you. You can't hide from something that feels your footsteps through the ground before you even know it's there. Okay, so they know where you are at all times, but this doesn't necessarily mean they can do anything to you when they find you. What's actually making the spiders so dangerous? Well, if you've ever seen a spider move, you've probably noticed it's different. Most animals move using a system of antagonistic muscles. One muscle puts a limb in and the other pulls it back out. It's a reliable system, but it has a mechanical limit. Muscles take time to contract, and they generate friction and heat. A spider has muscles to flex its legs inwards, but it has almost no muscles to extend them back out. When a spider wants to move, it instantly spikes its internal blood pressure, called hemolymph, and shoots it into its legs. The pressure change is so violent and fast that it snaps the legs outwards almost instantaneously. This is why spiders move with that strange, glitchy cadence. They aren't actually walking. They are more just pulsing themselves. Because this system relies on pressure rather than muscle fiber contraction, it allows for bursts of speeds that are basically non-existent otherwise in the animal kingdom. A spider can go from a total standstill to full speed in a fraction of a second. And because there is no mechanical click of joints or the friction of massive muscle groups, they are almost perfectly silent. An insect might be sitting on a branch, waiting to hear a predator, but the spider doesn't make a sound. It just appears. You never know when it's coming. If you've ever wondered why spiders curl up when they die, it's because they've lost all that internal pressure. Without the pump, their legs can only pull inwards. They've got nothing left to stay open. Okay, so they're fast, impossible to detect, but that doesn't matter if your prey is twice your size and capable of flying away at 30 miles per hour. Of course, a spider can't take down anything like a lion or a bear. but they are able to take down things still 3 to 5 times their size, which for the animal kingdom is pretty insane. It's not really just some giant brawl where a spider punches them 8 times at once though. It's more about disabling their enemies, and then ripping them apart from 8 different angles. We talk about spider silk like it's a sticky net, but that is a massive understatement of what is actually happening. From an engineering perspective, spider silk is one of the most advanced materials in the known universe. A single spider can produce up to 7 different types of silk, each with its own molecule structure. They have silk for structural support, silk for wrapping prey, silk for protecting eggs, and the dragline silk that acts as their safety tether. Capture silk, though, is basically all anyone cares about. If you were to fly a plane into a giant net made of steel cables, the plane wouldn't just stop. It would snap the cables, or the cables would cut the plane in half. This is because steel is strong, but it isn't tough. It can't absorb kinetic energy. Spider silk is different. It is both incredibly strong and incredibly elastic. When a heavy moth slams into a web at full speed, the silk doesn't just not break like steel. It undergoes a molecule transition that allows it to absorb the kinetic energy of the impact without snapping. It turns the insect's own speed against it, slowing it down gradually until all that momentum is gone. And then it sticks. The web has a complex bioglue that works at the molecule level. It stays liquid in low humidity and resists freezing. It's designed to coat the tiny hairs on an insect's body, creating thousands of points of contact that make escape physically impossible, especially for any animal of this size. It's why it's a pain to remove spider webs even when they touch you. Once an insect hits that silk, the fight is usually over in the first 3 seconds. Once you're stuck, the web has done its job. But you're not dead still. Yet. If you are a beetle, your exoskeleton is your greatest defense. You have a relatively hard shell that protects your insides. Spiders don't care. They don't eat like normal animals. Most predators have to chew their food. They have to break down the physical structure of their prey to swallow it. Spiders realized this was a waste of energy. So instead, they utilize a process called extraoral digestion. When a spider bites, it injects venom. But that venom also eats them. Essentially, the spider is injecting its stomach acid directly into your body. The venom begins to break down your muscles, your organs, and your nervous system while you're still alive. It turns your internal structure into liquid nutrient soup. Because they don't have to chew, spiders can consume animals that are significantly larger than they are. They just suck your insides right up out of the shell. This is honestly peak biological efficiency. There's no waste or gulping things down. But not every spider uses webs. So, are they just bad spiders? Well, look at the jumping spiders. They hunt in broad daylight, and they do it by using something that most people don't associate with invertebrates: logic. Jumping spiders have the best vision of any spider, and some of the best vision of any animal their size. They have 4 pairs of eyeballs that provide a 360-degree view of their environment. Their 2 large primary eyes are like telephoto lenses. They can see in high resolution and even perceive colors that humans can't, like ultraviolet. But the actual terrifying thing is that they can plan. Scientists have observed jumping spiders engaging in what is called detour behavior. If a jumping spider sees a prey item but can't reach it directly, it will turn away, lose sight of the prey, and navigate a complex route through 3-dimensional space to come out on top of the target. Obviously not very impressive for a human, but for an animal this small, think about how much processing power that requires. The spider has to hold a mental map of its environment in its head, remember where the prey was even when it can't see it, and calculate the physics of a jump that might be 50 times its own body length. This is actual problem solving, and insects aren't really known for being complex animals. Humans dominated the entire Earth through problem solving. So on a scale like this, it's giving the spiders a massive advantage. So they're smarter than you, faster than you, and can engineer giant traps. How come insects haven't all gone extinct from these guys? Well, if you take a look at insects, a ton of their body is actually morphed simply because of spiders. Hard shells, warning colors, erratic flight patterns, all just because of spider predation. Some moths have evolved vibration dampening scales that make them move through the air silently, specifically to avoid triggering the trichobothria of a hunting spider. There are also species of flies and ants that have evolved to look exactly like spiders. By mimicking the leg movements and the body shape of a spider, they trick other predators into leaving them alone. And sometimes, they even trick spiders into thinking they are a mate rather than a meal. This is freaky. Spidey senses are definitely tingling. There are even web-thieving insects that have learned how to walk on the non-sticky parts of a spider's web to steal the spider's food. But these defenses only work because the pressure from spiders is so constant. The shape of the insect world is defined by the spider. Every adaptation an insect has is just a desperate attempt to buy another few seconds of life. These guys are genuinely the only thing standing between us and an actual insect apocalypse. If every spider on Earth were to vanish tomorrow, the resulting explosion in the insect population would be catastrophic. Within months, crop-destroying insects would multiply unchecked. Every farm on the planet would be stripped bare in a matter of weeks. Disease-carrying insects like mosquitoes and flies would swarm in numbers that would make modern medicine irrelevant. The world would become borderline uninhabitable for humans. We think we are the ones in charge of this planet, but we only get to live here because spiders keep the worst biological multipliers in check: the insects. Personally, this is why I don't have arachnophobia. I'm actually pretty chill with keeping spiders in my house. They just sit in the corner anyways and don't even bother me. Remove a few ants and flies while you're at it, we're all winning. Except those ants and flies, they definitely aren't winning. So they are the perfect killing machines. But even a perfect machine has its limit. After hearing all of this, you might be wondering why spiders aren't the size of dogs. If they have hydraulics, super materials, and advanced logic, why haven't they evolved to hunt us? The answer is physics. Spiders don't have lungs like we do. They have book lungs, which rely on passive diffusion to get oxygen into the blood. The system is incredibly efficient for small animals, but it doesn't scale at all. If a spider were to grow to the size of a golden retriever, it wouldn't be able to get oxygen to its internal organs fast enough. It would literally suffocate under its own weight. Furthermore, the exoskeleton has a square cube problem. As an animal gets bigger, its weight increases much faster than the strength of its shell. A giant spider's legs would buckle and shatter the moment it tried to use its hydraulic pump. Fortunately, this super optimal design only works on animals a centimeter long. But just because they can't get bigger, doesn't mean they aren't finding new places to hunt. The diving bell spider has evolved to create a literal scuba tank out of silk. It captures air from the surface, traps it in a silk web underwater, and lives its entire life in a submerged oxygen bubble. It hunts small fish, tadpoles, and aquatic insects. Even the water is no escape. They've also mastered a technique called ballooning. They stand on a high point, release a long, thin strand of silk into the air, and let the static electricity of the atmosphere and the wind lift them up. Spiders have been found 5 miles high in the jet stream. They have been found in the middle of the ocean, thousands of miles from the nearest coast. They are literally raining down from the sky every single day. And they are on every continent except Antarctica. They are in the water, in the soil, in the air, and in the walls of your home. Unless you live in Antarctica. We can be terrified of spiders, but for now, we only have to be scared of the ones that look like black widows. House spiders aren't really a threat. If you're an insect though, well, you're cooked. Thank you guys for watching, and if you enjoyed, check out my video about when giant mushrooms used to be apex predators. Well, sort of.